Welcome back. I'm Kim Bailey. She's Fuliana Osborne, and this is Inside Exec. Today we are joined by Rob Fahey. Rob is currently the General Manager of the Holiday Inn Express at Newcastle in New South Wales. I've had occasion to interact with Rob as a customer and in terms of customer service and the things that we've talked about over the last few weeks about success sharing with your staff and about giving praise and about taking criticism and all of those things. So that combined with the fact that we have not ever in 200 plus episodes talked to anyone from the hospitality industry, we thought we might corner Rob and talk to him about those sorts of issues, particularly because, as you will hear, the place where he is at the moment has been at the forefront of reaction to the COVID-19 activities in the hospitality industry. But I'll let him tell you what the journey has been for this particular hotel in that period of time. So welcome, Rob. Good to have you with us.
Thanks, Kim. Great to be here. Appreciate the opportunity.
Now, Rob sent through his bio. You'll see that on the webpage that is related to him. And it's a pretty impressive one. Having met him, I already had a sense of what sort of age he was. As we do, we judge people's ages. And I read the bio this morning and I thought he must have started working when he was about 10.
I did do a paper on when I was about 10, I remember. So you're right.
There's some very interesting periods of time. Rob, were you always in the hospitality industry?
No, Kim, I actually started straight out of school and went into finance of all industries. So my mother worked in the banking industry and found myself in a role in that industry straight out of school. And I spent the best part of 4 or 5 years in that industry. And I guess what sparked my interest in hospitality was, I guess you could call it a gap year in New Zealand, where I became a porter at a hotel. Yep. You know, parking expensive cars and opening doors and the red jacket, gold buttons sort of scenario. And something triggered that my love for hotels and the hospitality industry. And upon my return to Australia, I pursued that. 14, 15 years ago, I went into this industry now.
The hospitality industry is fairly structured in terms of progression through it, isn't it? You can't really just walk into any level in the industry. Well, in the hotel industry, let's say.
Yeah, that's true. I guess what also was appealing was the opportunity to work your way up. I started on nights up at a brand new hotel at the time, Crown Plaza, Hunter Valley, and got the opportunity on nights. A bit of a finance background helped me doing a bit of night audit and reconciling the books. So I think, and from there you can work way up quite quickly, depending on how hard and dedicated you are and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, there's certainly opportunity for those that really want to pursue that.
Is it a progression that is set for you in terms of the hotel chain that you're with, or can you pick and choose?
The element of both. There's, we do a progression or a personal development plan. So it's a case of sitting down with your line manager at the time and discussing, what direction you'd like to go. And again, this industry can present you with so many different avenues as to whether you go down the finance path or you go into your more commercial sales, marketing, business development, or the operational path. So you can pick and choose somewhat. And again, that was quite appealing to have at any point you could sort of veer off into another direction. So I chose the ops path, coming through front office and food and beverage. And my role currently, it does touch on the commercial side, which I really enjoy as well. So I'm quite fortunate in my current role is that, having that diversity.
So the first question that we did send you earlier is about whether you see what you do as a product or a service industry.
Yeah, look, it's a bit of both. It's a great question. It got me really thinking about it. And of course, we offer a product, but if you really think about it, I think in hotels and hospitality in general, we're selling an experience. So, there's certain industries that sell a product that's very tangible. It could be groceries or whatever it may be. But for us, it's all about that experience. And particularly in hotels, there's so many hotels out there, as you know, and there's bricks and mortar, 4 walls, but to me, it's what the people deliver inside that and that experience that makes the difference. So based on that, I'm really a strong believer that our industry is very much an experience-based or a service-based industry.
The next one is going to take you back down to the path of thinking about all of the times you've been a manager.
Yeah.
So we did ask you what your biggest management challenge has been.
So two things. I suppose you could take it right back to when I first started in the industry and coming in at an entry level role, and then sort of fast move working your way up quite quickly. So in that 12 to 24 month period, there is that time where you transition from a frontline role into a management role or a supervisory role. My biggest challenge I remember back then was, all of a sudden you're then managing people that you were working alongside only, maybe 6 to 12 months prior. And I always found it very difficult, or let's call it a learning experience to deal with that, I suppose. And all of a sudden, they're looking to you for leadership, or you're, giving them direction or disciplinary action even. So I found that quite difficult at the time to draw that line, I suppose. But over the years, that's become easier as you sort of gain experience in that. And look, the last 6 months, really, that's probably in a lot of people's careers tested their leadership and management style, and I'm certainly no different. And I think for me, management is just it's about people, managing people. So obviously the most critical part of the business, in my opinion, but also the most complex. And I think the way that we manage people has a massive impact on the success or otherwise of the business. So for me, during the pandemic, that was the most difficult thing for me, was to, as an example, I was literally celebrating, or supposed to be celebrating, our first birthday of opening the hotel. It was almost a year to the day. Instead, I was on the phone calling the team, advising them of the temporary closure of the hotel, and obviously, standing people down. And that was very difficult, because there is that emotion attached to it. Because I knowing that this will have a massive impact on their personal life, particularly those that weren't eligible for JobKeeper. So, yeah, the people side for me is the most challenging, because there's that emotion attached to it.
By the way you're talking, I can tell that you're very much a people's person. You're thinking from their point of view, you're showing natural leadership, and you're putting yourself in their position as well. And I think that is a really great leadership style, because then you can reach them better, can't you?
Absolutely, yeah, 100% agree. And I guess I've got that from my previous leaders as well. I've been very fortunate to work under some exceptional leaders that put people at the forefront. And like I said, without the people, we don't have much. So I think for me, that's where the success of the business stems from. If you've got a happy team and an engaged team and a driven team, then a lot of the other stuff looks after itself.
Yes. While we're talking about people, I like to talk a bit about the customer side of things.
Sure.
With customers, to me, that's always been, no matter what industry, but particularly in the hotel industry, where two people will have the same experience and have such a diverse view of it and opinion. That must be a huge challenge for people like yourself and your team. So what do you like most about dealing with customers, and what do you like least about that?
It's a great question. Look, you're spot on. And an example of that, there's some very subjective examples in a hotel. The bedding or the pillows, the linen. One guest absolutely loves it, and then the next may not like it. Everyone's got that different preference or expectation. But look, it is, and I think that's part of the appeal of the industry, Juliana. It's no day is the same. Every day is different. And I guess what we've worked here, and Kim would know, we welcome feedback. So we try and encourage feedback. And I guess for me, if there's a guest that's not happy, then the natural thing to do would be to shy away from the problem, or go into your shell, or get defensive. And we try and coach the team to think of it the other way and actually embrace it, talk through it. And there's processes and training that we do to work through that. But it's also an opportunity, and that's what we need to view a complaint or some feedback as an opportunity to turn it around. So I guess you're trying to put that positive spin on a negative situation, and that's something that we're really, really big on trying to achieve.
That's correct.
I will say on that particular topic that you have a workforce that is predominantly of an age where we wouldn't expect them to be able to handle that sort of feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And that the skills that you have transferred to them, that they've taken on as well. It's really interesting from an academic point of view to watch it happening, because I've seen it happen in the reception area, and I've seen it happen in the hallways. And to a person, they do what you're training them to do. They listen, first of all. They
Yep.
don't react. They don't take it on the chin. They don't seem to stew over the negative stuff that they get thrown at. And it is very much a confrontation when it happens, because from the person who's going to complain is ready for a fight, because that's what they
right.
do, where else they go.
Yeah.
And so I think it's interesting to hear the background of you talking about it and identifying the skills that you're giving these people, so that those that are listening to us can't negate that by saying, oh, but my team's under 30 and my team does this and my team does that. You know, you do have a demographic in your staff that we might overlook in terms of the skills that they should have. And so it's great that you've been able to share that with us today.
Yeah.
The other area that I'm interested in terms of your growth as a manager is mentoring. Now, is mentoring a structured part of your employment?
Yeah, well, it is, and I suppose I embrace that. I love coaching and I love mentoring. So on a day-to-day basis, probably more as in my previous role as a front office manager, I had that really day-to-day interaction with the team. I was in amongst the operation a lot more, and in this role that I still am, but to an extent, I also need to take that step back and look at things, from the balcony rather than the dance floor, so to speak, and look at that strategic commercial side. So sort of looking back in previous roles, yeah, absolutely, there was a very structured regime, I suppose. And we have in IHG, one of the companies I work for, we have what's called a future leader.
Yep.
So I've been in certain situations, actually, they get assigned a mentor, and then that person you work quite closely with, you do performance reviews. I guess you become their coach for that period. So that was something in a more structured scenario, which I really, really enjoyed. These days, we don't have that with the company I'm with now, but doesn't mean to say that, it can't happen, but, I guess a little less structured approach. But yeah, that's part of the role I really enjoy is to mentor and coach people. Yeah.
Great. You've been in a great situation where you have varied experience, where you worked both in country and out of country on specific projects, etc. So you've got a good understanding of how other places work, I guess. Is that part of the things that you look out for? Is what's my competitors doing? Where do I want to take the hotel in the future? Or how long I want to, or at the moment, because this particular one is new, you're probably building it. But how do you go about looking at the industry as a whole, learning from the industry?
Yeah, that's critical. I think, you really need to keep a finger on the pulse with regards to what your competitors are doing. Just say you're staying fresh, staying relevant, and then staying that step ahead. So Newcastle being, I guess, a smaller population, we work closely together, and we come together as an industry group and share ideas, share challenges, etc. So there's a really, really good relationship between the hotels within the city, which is great, and we learn from each other, and we look after each other as well. So yeah, it's certainly critical to understand what your competitors are doing, different brands, etc. And things like industry meetings, just talking to people, reading publications on new technology within that's available within the hotel industry. All of that, particularly in this current climate, is really, really critical.
That's a good point for us to take a break in our discussion with Rob Fahey. Join us for part 2, but for now, I'm Kim Bailey, she's Fuliana Osborne, and this is Inside Exec.